Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of No Rocket Ships. Today, my guest is Jenna Holcombe, who is co-founder and chief brand officer of Centra, the e-commerce platform. At least I think that's what I'm. That's how I'm. That's my intro. But please introduce yourself and tell the people that don't know about Centra about Centra.
Well, first of all, thank you for inviting me on the show. I'm super happy to be here. You said it right, Jen Holcombe, Centra co-founder. But in Centra, we are an e-commerce platform.
Great. I suppose that we know each other. We know each other because we've sort of traded jokes, I suppose, about marketing in tech for the last for probably a couple of years now, right? So just little comments to each other either side of. So that's what I want to talk to you about today. You said to me the other day that you're not really a marketeer, you're a creative. So how did you get there? So tell me about the journey. How did you get to end up being in this business? And because as you say, you're a creative, really.
Yeah, yeah, great. So I'm an American, and my background is in design and visual communication. So that's what I studied. That was my early career. Not e-commerce. It was very much like branding, advertising for fashion brands, for like liquor and alcohol, for sports and things like that. And then very quickly, early on, ended up in the e-commerce world, like yeah, when everything sort of moved online in 2009, basically. So I ended up as a creative director at this small, very talented digital studio in Montreal, actually. So that was my first dip into like the e-commerce world, but I was always agency side, working at agencies, working for many clients at once, that kind of thing. And when I moved to Sweden, I met the like now co-founders of Centra, but back then they were running an agency, a digital agency, and building websites for fashion brands. So that was sort of the way I got in. Just kind of always being the one creative person, maybe, or the lead, and having a small team with me to kind of do the creative side of things. Centra is my first journey, like as an in-house creative. So meaning one client and it's us, which I think it suits me really well. And it's been like a really fun journey. But I'm like, for a long time, it was just me as the only creative amongst many techie people. So we talked about like, it's just funny to think about like, I did not really fit in, and maybe I still don't. Like, I have this experience of like early days of Cetra being like at these expos and things, and people would literally like men in suits would like come up to me and be like, "Can you make me a coffee and like find me your boss? Like I want to, I need to talk to someone serious." And I'm like, you can talk to me, I'm the boss. So yeah, that's been like a bit of a journey.
Interesting. And I suppose what that gives you is, as I watched, I think I met Max in Sweden a couple of times before you guys arrived here. I knew sort of it was you were on their way, and I think I knew Paul Smith was sort of thinking about using you as a platform. And then I was interested in the way that you entered the UK market because it was very different the way everybody else has ever done it, right? Everybody else has that I've worked for, and I've worked for everybody. Everybody else has always done the sort of, here's my big hammer, here's my partner team, here's my whatever. Let's go and create an ICP, blah 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 blah. And you guys didn't do that. So um, I have always said quite publicly that I think marketing in tech is really quite lazy. It's just the word motion is the one that's used: marketing motion, sales motion, etc. You guys did it in a very different way. I felt like you'd gone brand first, but I don't. To explain to me, I mean, I think marketing in tech is still really lazy. But how did you think about it, and how have you done it? Because I think I'm sure you don't know if you've been as successful as you want to be, but you've been very successful. I think considering probably how much money you've spent and all the other bits and pieces, right? So I'll shut up.
Yeah, yeah, I think you're onto something. Like, of course, we really have so much more to do. Like we are not we have a long journey ahead of us, I think. But we've done some things that are maybe surprising, like you mentioned. I think just to take it back a little bit, like our success in Sweden, I think, we started as a really, of course, as you do, a small startup team. And my role was kind of the other half of the company, I mean, I don't code. So my job, when it was just me and the creative team, was to do the branding, do the marketing, which I didn't even know I was doing, get to the expos, make sure we were putting on the whole goal was like to differentiate ourselves. Like if we could do that, then we had like a fighting chance. So using whatever skills like we didn't have a big marketing team, but we had me, and we had a few creative people in PR and things like that. So trying to figure out how can we completely stand out from the not just our competitors, I think, but also like standing out in general in the tech space. So for example, I would go to like the first time I went to a e-commerce type expo, and then I felt like I was so out of place. Everything looked exactly the same. It was so boring. Like you said, very lazy. It's like white vinyl everywhere with jewel tone logos. And that was right before we were kind of branding Centra. We had the idea, but it hadn't been branded yet. So I remember like bringing my idea. One of the founders is Piotr Zaleski, and like bringing this deck to him, like this is the idea for the brand, and it was like it is what you see today, just like very like there was no black 10 years ago in e-commerce. Now people are catching on and things are getting a little sexier and cooler. So that was kind of like me trying to be like, okay, we're trying to appeal to fashion brands. Let's see how we can differentiate ourselves from the other players in the entire market. And it worked well in Sweden, basically. So the entry into the UK, I feel like we still like that was like right before then was when we first started like building out our marketing team. So I started getting to learn from actual marketers how to like we've always been very brand led because that's the only skills that I have in the team I built in house was creative. So I hired art directors, and I can write and they can design, and we kind of work together. And my trade is also like I'm a designer as well. So we did what we could from the only thing I knew, which was creative, like building very brand led marketing. So it was trying to like catch attention and stand out and use like eye candy and surprising content, and also a lot of like not making fun of e-commerce, but poking fun at e-commerce and not taking it so seriously and like leveling with people in the way that we speak and the way that we communicate in our tone of voice. So when it came time to enter the UK, I think this is where like so I think the first job was to stand out in like our little smaller ecosystem and how it worked. And then I feel like what we've really thought about entering the UK was we needed to really stand out, but we also had to try to find a way to fit in. And so the first project is kind of like getting there on the ground, meeting people, like learning what like go to the events and kind of I remember the first Pulse by Vervon that we went to 3 years ago, just kind of like attending. No one knew who we were, like listening, learning, talking to people, figuring out the pain points, like where do we fit in here and what's something new we can bring. And then also, of course, the next year, like fully infiltrating with the, marketing and brand into different events in the UK to show people like who we are, like what our personality is and like what's different about us. So of course, like, we're not, we could say we're a product-led company. We're not really because you can't just like sign up for Centra online, but we're very much we do have it's not just branding, of course we have something unique in product to offer, and so that's something that we need to communicate. Yeah, but I think it was just this, I love these juxtapositions of like trying to figure out how the hell do you really stand out and make some waves and also fit in at the same time, and I think that's something we succeeded with. We were in we made sure we had a presence in the UK. So we flew there a lot and met with as many people as we could and just tried to like, find our way that way through. We hear often that like, we hear from like our current clients, like one of the reasons they went with us is because they liked working with us. They chose us because of the people. And I think also like something that brand has done for Centra and probably does for a lot of companies who focus on brand, who invest in it, is it's much easier to hire people when they'll take the meeting when they see an interesting brand, something that stands out, they're intrigued. So I feel like we're in this position to be we're getting so good at hiring awesome people here, and then we get these people who go out and like spread the message, and it's like they're excited and proud to work at Centra, and just because of this little, buzzy thing called brands that I think, people want to be.
So let's talk about, so one of the parts of doing tech, and this is probably what we've joked about for the last little while, is the idea of building your own you fit in by building or being part of an ecosystem that is, to a degree, yours, right? So one of the ways that Shopify have done it, and every ecom platform that I've ever worked for, with, etc., they build these really tribal communities of partners and sort of disciples and associates and whatever who believe who believe their message and stand by their message, and in a slightly religious way, possibly in some ways, become devotees of the message. I watched it happen. I watched it happen at there's still a Magento community in the UK of people who are tribal about Magento, and that's a dead and dying platform and has been for many years. You and we I've accused you of building a tribe, and you've accused me of having a Jamie tribe, both of which are sort of slightly true, probably. But I wonder how you think about the the either the organic or deliberate way of building. How do you feel about the tribe thing in it
Well,
as an ecosystem? And is it something you deliberately done?
I mean, I think it's really completely how I've always operated, and hopefully not in like a deceitful way. No, but it's more like the whole thing. I think what people don't know that they're attracted to when you are investing in brand is like my job and the people I work with. We're trying to like attract people in a way and level with people and make sure they feel like we understand them. And that's uh it's all like, people want to belong to something in every ecosystem in every part of the world. They're looking for, where do I fit in, where do I belong? And we're also like, digging into the culture of e-commerce and trying to figure out how do we connect with people and bring them in. And like it's actually true that we do understand them. So it is authentic. Like we're paying attention. We are at the events. We are digging through, other platforms' documentation. We're trying to, find our own way of like how are we different, and we talk about it a lot, like what differentiates us and what can we offer people. So, and of course, like I don't want to be here if it's not fun, and that can end up being a little culty too. It's like we make sure that our events are different than other events. They're maybe a bit more vibey, or like Centra vibe. We pick the right restaurant, we pick the right venue, we pick the right people. And if you look at it from the outside, it can seem very culty. But I love I think the entire e-commerce ecosystem is a giant cult, which is hilarious and fun. Like we have Mac Alliance. They have like, I feel like they have like 10 commandments I saw once on their website. And like Centra, when we showed up in the UK, everyone was like, why are you all dressed in black? Like it's very Stockholm to only wear black, but we were like, oh yeah, it's kind of weird to wear just all black here. And also like there's two people at Centra who have Centra tattoos, which is super culty. And like there's like so many examples of Shopify editions. There's this whole like cult fandom around it, and people waiting for it to come out and dissecting it, and like very cool that they've managed to build that. But it's also very culty. So I think it's fun to be able to, if you're paying attention, uh, yeah, like it's that old saying of like, if you need to know the rules to break the rules. So I feel like there's people at Centra who are, of course, paying attention and diving into the culture of e-commerce and then trying to figure out where we fit in. So I think it's important, and I do think people make decisions based on emotions. Like you can, run, total cost of ownership calculators all day, but like the people that you're going to end up working with, the vibes, like people make decisions based on that as well. So if you're investing in that side of your company, I think it's always a good investment to not just, have facts and numbers to back it up, but have like some kind of culture around what you're building.
Yes, you're right. I mean, I have at least paid lip service to lots of cults in the last 20 years running the business I've run. I've been involved in the Mac thing, uh, originally in it, as the on the advisory board, still independent, but I definitely was swayed into the cult to a degree in the first couple of years, and then I really wasn't. But I still, yeah, I've sort of ended up sitting outside a lot of these cults, but being part of them because you're right. Customers buy based on who they feel comfortable dealing with. In fact, one of the, we won't name the customer, but one of the customers that you guys won this year in the UK told me that in the last two, they were down to two vendors and they chose Centra over the other one because they thought you might be, you and the partner that you were working with might be, they felt they would have a better experience in the journey to go live. So on the basis you're going to be working together for a year and a half, who's going to stand up and do this with me, and who am I going to not enjoy, but who do I feel I'm going to end up being able to trust and not enough.
Yeah.
That's what that you're right. People end up buying the people that they're going to trust to deliver it.
And we're trying to like lean into that. We've noticed it for many years and we don't really understand it. Like it's never been, we're not like writing documents and like instructing people and coaching people how to act so that people like you so that you can get that. Like it's somehow just kind of built part of our culture to hire like like people who make our customers and clients feel like they can trust us. But I also think we've thought about it deeply. It's like I don't know if you know that I didn't go that far back, but our I did. Yeah, our roots are agency roots. Like we were an agency. Like that's all I know before Centra is working at agencies. And I think it's a bit of a stylistic way of working. Like you have to build relationships. People have to trust you. There are crazy deadlines and like you're in the trenches together and like you're going out together and you're hanging out together. Like that's all I know. And that's quite a lot of the other founders too. That's their background as well. So I think it comes from that. It is authentic is what I'm trying to say. Like it's just a natural progression of like where we come from and how we treat people. And I really hope that like it's huge for us. Like I really want to make sure we can, as we grow, as we scale and grow, that we can kind of maintain that reputation in an authentic way, which will be
So
hard.
how do you do that when you're in a new market and you've got partners who are not part of Centra? So that's where it becomes difficult, right? Because your partners, your delivery partners, your tech partners, you're not in charge of their brands, you're not in charge of their businesses. How do you try and communicate what you've just been talking about now so that you appear like a tribe, so that you appear as one team?
Yeah, I mean, it shows up in different ways. Again, I'm not in sales, but I know that we'll often find like we're close with a couple of partners, like very close, obviously, in Sweden and in the UK. And those relationships have been built over time. And some of the best success is when we pitch together. So it's spending time together, crafting actual like pitches that are tailored to the project. So working really closely together. Last time I was in the UK, I went to one of our partners and hung out with them for a couple of hours and just went. They showed me their latest designs of the sites that were about to launch on Centra and things like that. So just like staying in touch and like really feeling like you're some type of like you have a tether, like you're connected in some way. Not that you're the same business, like they're operating totally, agnostically in a way. As I also had that question for you too, as well. Now I'm just thinking of the agnostic thing I just said, because as a consultant, you have a very specific perspective of the whole like selling in tribes and things like that. Like you and a bunch of others I know kind of have to be agnostic. So you don't get to be a part of the tribe. I just wonder how you feel about that.
Yes, well, that's a very good question. So first of all, there is a Jamie tribe, right? Because I collect people. What I realize as I've got older is that I basically collect people. And people like that about me, so they like being collected. Nice people like being collected, or the people that like me like being collected. So I have to understand that there is a tribe of people who just like Jamie. There's also a lot of massive tribe of people who hate me, so that's fine too. And presumably I don't know who they are because they don't like me, but that's fine. But they know they are. I'm told that there is a group of people who, when they don't get on stage and I'm the guy, being the producer, they get, they're quite vocal about it. So that's fine. Um, I, I, I think it's the job of somebody like me to make sure I need to represent the voice of the customer as much as I can. I need to ignore you guys, the vendors and the agencies completely in lots of ways, and just make sure firstly that there's enough competition in the market for customers to be able to have a choice. That's the first thing, right? So there's an undeniable truth in that I don't want Shopify to win because if Shopify wins everything, there's no more choice for customers. That's just the truth, right? That is the truth. So, and if anybody wins, doesn't matter whether it's Commerce Tools, Shopify. In the old days, there was a weird period before you guys were in the UK where it was either Magento or Demandware, and it was boring. There were like 3 or 4 years where it was boring. Now there's maybe 7 players, I suppose, in the econ platform world. That feels reasonably healthy, but there is a danger that some of them will just leave the stage because they won't win. Commerce Tools feels risky at the moment. Don't know what's going on with big commerce. There are some vendors that. So I suppose my mantra is always to stay close to the customer and listen to the customer, listen to what they think, maybe represent them to a degree, and try to make sure that there's enough competition for them to be able to have a choice. So I would love Centra to be more successful because I think that gives customer more choice. Simple as that, right? But our motivations are different. I just think customers need to be able to have a choice because if it's only 1 or 2 other choices, then they're really limited, and there are fewer replatforms now than there were. So, you know, when you get to do it, you want to look around the market and go, "Oh, I've got choice." That's what I'm. Is that the right answer? Thank God for that. Okay, good. Um,
About everybody's unique person. Now I'm getting too comfortable in my chair. Unique perspective on the e-commerce cultiness or whatever. I think it's interesting. I think that's also what you have to do in my role is to really try to understand where everybody's coming from, so that because like you said, the lazy B2B marketing. If we go back to the beginning of the conversation, like it is lazy. I mean, I think it's so boring on LinkedIn. I mean, everyone's thrilled and excited to announce some boring thing. So cutting through that noise, it's not just about like being outrageously different for the sake of being different, but it's really a conscious effort to pay attention to everybody's unique perspectives and be able to shine a light on it and poke a little bit of fun at it, and so that people say, "Oh, I get that. Like they get me. We're all in this kind of." Like Centra kind of gets it and understands it. It's like if I have to do any marketing, I always want to do it in like an anti-marketing way. Like, of course, we have to do product marketing. We have to tell people, what's in it, like why buy it. Whenever we have the chance, it's like I want to make sure our marketing sounds as if it's not, just hitting people over the head, like you said, the same old messages.
well,
It could be any platform, just put whatever name in there.
agreed. So there was I think you commented on something. A guy that I interviewed the other day, Grant, was talking about the roadmap. So there's this roadmap thing that I am now obsessed with about roadmaps getting faster and AI creating faster roadmaps for everybody.
I
And
sent that around to the team actually.
yeah, so I'm of the view that roadmaps now become a thing you have to sell and stick by and evidence, because if you don't, your roadmap's going to get faster, your delivery is going to get faster, everything's going to get faster for all the reasons that we know. So trusting the roadmap and trusting you as a supplier is trust is a much more important word now in a world where the code is sort of slightly easier to create. Do you know what I mean?
So much to say about the roadmap. I just agree with you, and I think it's a welcome challenge as well because we need to get very like now I'm speaking a bit about the product, but we have to get very laser focused very quickly because everything seems to be speeding up, and if you don't speed up too, you're just kind of left behind. So there's a lot of discussions about that as well. But I actually sent around what you had. It was I think it was your talking head on LinkedIn, but just saying what you just said. I think it's very true. I had something to say about that. Now I get to
There's
edit.
a,
The AI edits this part out because now my brain is melted.
Well, for a couple of years ago, all of the e-com platforms were walking around going, "Oh, we're going to deliver a point of sale. We're going to do unified commerce." And I just sort of remember thinking to myself, "There's no way any of you are going to do that because I've worked for those guys, right? And you have to fiscally register yourself in every territory you're going to be in. There's no way anybody's going to do that." So it was just a lazy bit of road mapping, right? There's no way, and none of them have done it. So it's sort of that version of life, right? Where a customer, you might say it, but a customer if they look under the hood, will know that there's no way any e-com vendor can really be a mobile POS vendor in every geography and every role. I mean, apart from maybe Shopify, who've got enough scale. So everybody's got to get a bit more real, I think.
Yeah, I hear you. And we are grappling with that right now as well. Like we're taking a very measured approach to how we, communicate about AI and what we are doing. Because of course we're doing a lot of stuff in the background, but like we're trying to make sure that people aren't, calling our bullshit. Like we do not want to be that, another company that's like, we're an AI company now. Like we want to be smart about it and be thoughtful about it and make sure we're making the right choices and like not do that. Like we're very, I mean, maybe it's quite Swedish, but like we're not so good at doing the fake marketing, where you market something that doesn't exist yet. Like we've never done that. We won't do that. Like we're too real. And that could hurt us. Like I know like that sometimes that maybe that's the playbook we haven't followed that could help. You fake it till you make it, but it's just not in our DNA.
It's the smoke. Yeah, I mean, smoke and mirrors as well. I think but smoke and mirrors has driven every customer mad that I've
Yeah,
ever worked with for 20 years. Right? They hate it.
yeah,
They just feel like they are being lied to. And there's
yeah.
enough of that in tech.
I think about that, like, again, I'm not in sales, but I think about like, it must be if you're the brand, like every platform must come to, I might get in trouble for this, but must come to the sales meeting and, the brand is like, oh, is the price, how's the price? Can't be too high. And we're like, no, 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 it's not too high, value for the money, but not too low, right? Because then you're cheap. And then it's like, is it like, does it perform really well? Of course it does. Like every platform is kind of selling the dream, right? Of course we have everything you need out of the box. Oh, you don't want out of the box, you want best of breed. Oh, we got that too. Like I feel like there's a bit of that going on where it's like every platform is saying that of course we're the perfect fit for you. So it also brings it back to like I mean branding and the type of like what type of company do you actually want to partner with? And I think that that's something that at least a challenger brand like us, we have a leg up, right? Because we don't just say, yeah, we pick up the phone. We actually do pick up the phone because we're a much smaller group than Shopify. So when everyone says they can do everything, uh, it's up to the like you must know this as a consultant, like for the brand to have to like weed through what's true, what's not. Yeah, I don't know. Now I'm rambling, but
Okay, so I've got one more question and then we'll stop. For what about the apparel focus thing? I mean, it's a differentiator because it's what the business does. It comes with, I'm sure it must be frustrating at times because the opportunities must come in and you look at them and go, oh, it's massive and lovely. And no, you know, how do you, from a branding perspective or a tribal perspective, think about that as your DNA? Because that's how you introduce the platform.
yeah, I mean, it was a conscious decision to narrow it down to that like specific ICP, maybe 5 years ago, not even. And up until then, we had basically only served fashion brands. We had other brands on the platform. They were usually not as happy as the fashion brands. I don't know if you know too, but like I think I mentioned Piotr Zaleski earlier in the pod, but he's one of the original founders. I think it all stemmed from the fact that he had a jeans brand that was global, that 20 years ago, and he was too cheap to buy Magento. So I was like, just gonna like put something, like build something this weekend with a friend, and he kind of cobbled together what turned into Centra 4 years later, because that was kind of the bones. But so the story is real. Like the people in the company come from a fashion background or design, in my case, serving fashion brands. Then our first big attempt at like getting playbooks in place for marketing was to like narrow down our ICP, and it was scary for a lot. Like people were resisting it. I won't say who, but there was definitely a couple people who did not want to do that, who did not want to say no to business at that point in time. But we made the decision to do it, and I think it's the best decision we ever made because we were already serving them the best. We had like homeware brands, and we still do have speckled in here and there some more lifestyle brands. It's like sports or things that kind of drift away into little different verticals. But the connecting thread is lifestyle. And I think it's also like the platform has just been built. Like when we were early days, when we could really build features for a specific client, sometimes it was built for a global fashion brand. These little like tiny tweaks in the platform that you're never going to get from another platform because we just built it from day one. And also like one thing that doesn't get out there enough is like because we're Swedish. Now I'm going in a different direction, but because we're Swedish, almost every brand, as soon as you get any type of success in Sweden, you're looking outside the borders. We built a global platform from day one, and it's very much part of the backbone of the platform in a way that we didn't tack it on 10 years later. It's like it seamlessly works through all the functionality. And that's been a big selling point for us. It just works. You just turn it on, one storefront, all markets. And we've had that for 10 years. It's not a hack. But yeah, it was a conscious decision. And I think it's the best decision we have made. It kind of sucks to have this sounded bad, but it kind of sucks to have to say like fashion brand platform, because fashion means something different to lots of different people, and fashion can feel like, if you look at there's a lot of like I won't name names, but fashion commerce, like we do wholesale as well, and a lot of our we're up against some big like wholesale players in fashion, and they brand towards fashion, and their idea of fashion is very interesting, because if you look at the branding, again, not naming names, it's very like cheesy, silver, sexy, sparkly. Like some people think that when they think fashion. So I was a bit afraid of that, going into this, like, narrowing it down and saying fashion, 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 we are fashion. But there's no other word for it. So we're kind of stuck with it.
And obviously, you just won. Well, Liverpool Football Club selected Centra earlier this year, right? And the argument, is that of course it's a fashion business. So yeah,
Apparel. Yeah.
yeah, apparel, yeah, exactly. Right, now we're at the end. We're done.
Right.
Thank you very much. Well done.
I
Jenna,
blacked out.
thank
I have
you.
no idea what I just said.
Yeah, fine. Don't worry. Um, I'm going to wrap up there. Thank you very much, Jenna. Lovely to
Thank
talk to
you.
you, and we'll move on to the next episode next week. Thank you.
Always a pleasure. Thank you, James.
Cheers.
Take care.